Auckland FC have just gone 5 points clear at the top of the A-League men's ladder. We still have 10 rounds to go in the competition, but have the New Zealand club, the newest club in the A-League, just won the Premier's Play. And I know there's a long time to go, but there's many factors that we have to discuss here. And we're going to have a look at both teams, Adelaide and Auckland's remaining fixtures here for the rest of the regular season. But Auckland FC, with a huge result yesterday, the win away to Western United 2-0, and with Adelaide losing at home 2-1 to Newcastle Jets, which is a huge upset. I don't think anyone saw that result coming. All of a sudden, the top of the table, it really felt like a two-horse race, and it has been for most of the season. But I tell you what, it might be pulling away. Auckland may well be pulling away here in what has been an incredible season for them. And we'd love to hear from you guys. Like, do you think Auckland have sealed it from here? Again, it's a big statement to make with so many games remaining, but I think there's a case to, I think there's a point worth arguing that Auckland may well have one hand on the Premier's plate at this stage in the season. I mean, first of all, as we discuss these games that we saw take place yesterday, I mean, the Auckland game against Western United, they were just clinical. They took their opportunities. Those two quick fire goals at the end of the second half for Auckland FC, getting the job done. Guillermo May, who's been very good this season, scoring a wonderful goal from range. And then Max Mata getting on the end of a nice little quick counter-attack move from Auckland FC. And all of a sudden, they had that two-goal lead. As you can see from the stats, a pretty even game overall, 11 shots for either side. Western ended up controlling most possession. But again, Auckland FC just showing absolute just grit and determination. And they were just so resolute once again, as they have been so many times this season. And an important result, this specific one as well for Auckland, because we shouldn't forget that incredible game that we saw take place at the end of last year where Western went over to New Zealand and defeated Auckland 4-0, which again just stands as a real outlier, I think, this season in Auckland FC's season. So a big sort of result for Auckland just to get revenge for that big home defeat. For Adelaide United as well, I mean, they were just, I think, a bit wasteful in this 2-1 loss at home to Jets. Look, I guess to be fair, Newcastle Jets are coming off that 3-0 win against Victory last week, and now 2-1 against Adelaide. Like, there's a huge couple of results for Newcastle Jets, and we could sort of make a separate videos discussing them. Are they finding some some decent form to and they'll run into towards the end of the season here. Adelaide, I mean, 25 shots all up, 65% possession. They controlled a lot of the play and really pins Newcastle Jets back, especially for a lot of that second half. But Newcastle just, again, showing how dangerous they are on the counter-attack. Clayton Taylor was, fantastic with that second goal. And Ethan Cox, the goalkeeper for Adelaide United, maybe could have done better saving that at his near post. Look, we know that the Reds were missing a couple of players due to the young Socceroos, who are currently over in the Under-20 Asian Cup. But still, they still have a strong team, a competitive team. And you thought, they would have gotten the win here at home, considering how, their form's been tracking. But, this is the thing that sort of makes and breaks, I guess, Premiership contenders. If you're letting sort of these results slip away, especially at home, that can mean that trophies start to slip away. And Auckland FC, this could have been a game. I think in terms of people predicting this game, I imagine it would have been pretty even. I think West United, who have been good this year, and again looking at the way they beat Auckland FC last year away, I think a lot of people were probably backing Western to maybe get the win here, maybe just a third defeat of the season for Auckland, but Auckland, man, just showing up once again, just so consistent as ever. And again, looking at the ladder, this is what it means. 5 points clear. 11 wins for Auckland, 3 draws, 2 losses. You can see the goal difference, 14. 5 points clear of Adelaide, and now 7 goals clear in terms of goal difference. I mean, that may well come into play as well. That's another factor that we have to consider in this Premiership race at this moment in time. So let's get down to business and look at the remaining games for both teams. First of all, let's start with Auckland FC here and look at what games they have remaining this A-League season. Both teams have 10 games remaining, which makes things pretty straightforward. Obviously, the derby next week for Auckland is a massive one. Wellington, man, I mean, obviously they've been beaten in the last couple of derbies. They'll be looking, really hoping to get victory in that final derby of the season. Could be a big one up there in Auckland. And then you can see, man, I mean, this could well be in a couple of weeks' time, could well be the decider for the Premiership. if Auckland can win that game against Adelaide, there's still plenty of games left. But if Auckland get the win there, potentially going, who knows, maybe 8 points clear, it may well be too far for Adelaide to catch them, I reckon. So that's a huge, huge game, and massive that Auckland have the home field advantage there on the 1st of March. They've got Jets away, Mariners home, Brisbane away as well. I mean, Auckland will view all those games as winnable games. I mean, we'll see if Jets, continue to build some decent form into March, but winnable games, I think, for Auckland. And then you've got Sydney away, Victory away. I mean, those will prove to be really, really tricky tests for Auckland. You're coming up against two big clubs there. So, potentially, is there, maybe a couple matches where Auckland might drop some points there. But you'd still back them to be really competitive in those matches. At home against Glory, and then another away trip to Western United. So you'd expect Auckland to win, most of those games. I'm looking at the Sydney and Victory away games as the two tricky ones, and maybe, the Adelaide clash, and even the Derby next week could be interesting as well for Auckland. But they do have a pretty favourable run in towards the end of the season. Let's have a look at the Reds, and in terms of their hopes heading into the final weeks of the season, their final 10 games. If we scroll down here, we can see we have Western United away. Tricky test this season for any team travelling to Western United. And then, of course, the Auckland game. Brisbane at home, Macarthur at home, and they got the original rivalry, and then Sydney at home. So, some tricky matches there. A couple sort of top 6 sides that they're coming up against there. Glory away could be a winnable game for the Reds. Wellington Phoenix at home, again, could be a winning game, as could Raw away. And then Melbourne City away will be tricky for Adelaide. So you feel like maybe comparing the two fixtures, Auckland maybe just have a more favourable run in towards the end of the season. I mean, comparing the games overall, again, it's so hard to predict in the A-League. I mean, we get huge upsets just about every single week. So, who knows what's going to happen. But it feels like Auckland may well have just ever so slightly, the easier run in towards the end of the season. I mean, Adelaide are coming up against Brisbane twice still remaining this season. That's big. Brisbane Roar have been really struggling this season. There's winnable games there coming up against Glory, who've been struggling as well. So, there is an opportunity for Adelaide. It is not done, but Auckland FC have a huge, huge advantage now. And the thing is as well, I think the final point to make is that I just can't see Auckland slipping. I mean, what they've shown us this season, week in, week out, despite some adversity that they've faced here and there, the injury to Dan Hall, Sakai's been missing for a couple of games here and there as well. There has been players who have had to drop out here and there. They've managed to really stay strong, throughout so many of these games, and just 2 losses in the season, at home against West United, and then away against Perth Glory, really sort of looking like outliers as well. And I think the thing that's really going to, help them in the end is their incredible defense. I mean, just 12 goals conceded. You look at the rest of the league, and they're just so far ahead of everyone else. I mean, Melbourne City there on 15 goals conceded, but that goal difference, I think, may well prove a difference in the end in this race for the Premier's Plate. Auckland FC, they are flying high at the moment. They have just been absolutely incredible this season. But my question for you guys is, have they secured the Premier's Plate? Will they go on to win the Premier's Plate? Or will the Reds catch them in the end? Or, I mean, who knows, maybe Victory or City could make an incredible run towards the end of the season to catch them at the top of the table. But I feel like Auckland FC may well have one hand on the Premier's Plate this early on in the season. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay subscribed for more A-League talk right here. Because with Football, my name's Lockie. Hit the like button on the way out, and I'll see you in the next one.